Good day, it is Brian here again on the Art of Startup War. Every week I bring you something exceptional. I bring you something exceptional that we are investing in, something that we think is worthy of any investor on the planet having a look at. And this one this week is so special. It is a brand you will want to have in your belly. You're going to want to have it on your mantelpiece. You're going to want to have it in your cellar. You're going to want to have it when you go around your friend's house. You're just going to want to take it back with you because it's that good. You're not going to want to leave it as a gift. I was so pleased when we got to invest in this company, and the story is just so beautiful. And I'm going into the world of spirits, and I'm going into the world of just very just great culture and history. And so when I think of this, you're only going to either think of whiskey or you're going to think of tequila. And actually, tequila wins hands down. And you are hearing that from an Irishman. But not the stuff that's just made, manufactured, and gets out. I'm talking about the real old world, beautiful tequila, which just, you see it, you smell it, you taste it, and it's something special. And I was referred over to Mark, and Mark was referred over to me, and we started chatting, and I thought, wow, what a story, what an opportunity, not only to get out to consumers, but to actually make sure that something that's happened within the tequila world over years and years and years gets reversed, and we can bring true quality back. And who better to be able to do that than a master of tequila and also a sommelier as well. So just domain expertise at the wazoo. Mark, welcome to the show. I'm so looking forward to talking about tequila, and just a little bit more about high quality tequila.
Thanks for having me.
Man, you got to give us the story, Mark, because doing something like this is not easy. Like, this is not some craft brewery where you just make a nice IPA and you put it out. Like, we're talking olives here. And any of you who may know, like, olives back in Spain, these things don't grow in a tree in a couple of minutes. You have to love them and care for them for years and years and years. And only the aging and the caring and the quality actually takes you to a place where you can do something incredible. So take us to the beginning. Take us to your journey, and maybe even back before you became a master of tequila and through your life in this business.
Perfect. Well, sit back, relax for a minute.
Have a tequila.
Yeah, grab a drink because it's Mexico somewhere. And let me tell you a story. There's so much to the journey. From the time I graduated school and spent the next 10 years learning the corporate disciplines from the companies of Coors, California Cooler, Brown-Forman, Nestle, big companies. So the big reason eventually on my own, know how corporate works and how to be better, right? So in 1990, I founded a wine and spirits company in 28 Western US states, developing over 30 high quality brands from California, Oregon, Burgundy, Bordeaux, Champagne, Cognac, Armagnac, and on and on. Over the next 8 years, I found that a business like this is only as good as the contracts. Sound familiar?
Yes.
By this, I mean I took the brands to significant levels that they could hire their own sales staff. Little did these brands know that success is built on relationships, where I have never burned a bridge, and those relationships continue today. A life lesson. Forward, I need to own the brands I represent. In the late 1990s, a client of mine, Trader Joe's, I think we all know who they are, came to me and asked, wine only, if I was interested to help them with a new direction in selling spirits, and tequila was at the top of mind. This is back in the 90s. I said, of course, I was introduced to the Mendez family of Guadalajara, who shared the passion of making great tequila. Senor Vicente Mendez, God rest his soul, the patriarch of the Mendez family, who has huge success with their holistic supplement business in Mexico, joined me to make a tequila brand called Cesar Monterrey, who was actually a Spanish general during the conquest of Mexico. An incredible story that I will share with you one day, but we got to have a glass or two of tequila in our hands. Cesar Monterrey was an instant success, right? So Mr. Mendez, my mentor, made me a part of his family in Mexico, and that remains today. So we built a custom distillery in 2003 so we could make the tequila we wanted to make versus the tequila that we were told to sell. This is when we started implementing the remastered production methods, one step at a time. We signed with a national importer until the tragic death of the owner, and that importer sold the company in 2007. I started and completed my Master Tequero certification in 2009. We carried on the Monterey brand, continued the R&D methods, so very different than the other distilleries. Now, when our new formula had taken shape, we agreed to start a new brand where everything matters and everything has a story. So in 2011, the Agava investment began. And I also completed my sommelier certification with the Court of the Masters in Napa, California, a career dream of mine. From that point on, we agreed on two things. First and foremost, elevate our taste profile to be the best tequila. Every day, always. We taste and taste and taste and taste. Not only the tequila levels from our own production, but also the tequilas of our competition. And second, make sure that back end of all IP, both in the US and Mexico, agave contracts, CRT agreements, custom bottle design, custom distillery, and barrel inventory were all complete, and most importantly, debt-free. This has never been accomplished for any tequila brand until now. And with the help of the Expert Dojo team, this journey continues.
Oh man, what a journey. What an amazing journey, especially when you engross yourself into one of the oldest Mexican families and put yourself into the tequila making. Like even I just imagine you going into like one of their manufacturing, which is maybe, I don't know, outside on their campus, and you walk in and the people are in there and they're like sipping and tasting the tequilas and they're putting them into the barrels. Talk us a little bit about, because you've spoken briefly about the old ways and the new ways, right? And the old ways and the new ways, and then going back to the old ways and the ways things should be done. Is it just a question of time of aging? Or is it quality of ingredients you're putting in? Or is it the way that you treat it? Or is it just all of the above and a little bit more?
So I guess to answer that question I could spend an hour, but we don't have that, right? It's what makes us different, right? So going into that, we wanted to define true luxury tequila. And to answer your question more specifically, tequila is so popular now that it's lost its soul. I personally think it lost its heritage, its authenticity, right? It's lost its way because the brand owners of the current leading brand owners are in mass production. That's just the way they roll. So mass production takes a whole new different way of making tequila via vodka, right? It's a column distillation, it's a diffuser, getting away from the old style copper lined pot still separate distillation that we do that really, really truly makes us different. But I think the most different part for us in making tequila is where our agaves are grown. Our agaves are grown at the base and the foothill of Volcan de Tequila, which are red, rich, nutrient volcanic soils that just make the best agaves. The problem is for others, it takes 7 to 8 years to get a fully mature piña. Well, on the other side of Guadalajara and Arandas, they're not rich volcanic soils, and you can pick an agave at 2 years. And it's cheap to grow because it's nickel oxide soils where nothing grows except for agave. We choose another path. We choose, the best. And when you start out, and my sommelier expertise has told me this, and teachings have told me this, when you start out with the very best raw ingredients, you really don't have to screw with it too much to make a really great product. And that's where we spend most of our time, is in the fields, cultivating, hands off, the best agaves that the world has ever seen, right? I mean, and we let it go for 7 to 8 years. The piñas are huge, but they're mature, meaning it's the highest, when we pick them, it's the highest level of reserve carbohydrates, or a measure by what we call frutans, of the sugars that will be produced when you steam and turn those carbohydrates into sugar, and then ferment into a pulque, and then we distill from there.
When you're talking, I don't know why IKEA keeps going through my head, but I imagine what it was like. I do believe that us as a generation, we left the back door open and we allowed cheap, nasty quality to come into our houses. And we didn't just let it come in, we welcomed it in. And I think back to my granddad's time and my dad's time, when you would have a kitchen table and it would be handmade. It would be handmade by a guy whose dad's dad handmade these tables, and he took like the finest piece of wood which was taken out of the forest, which had been saved for the wedding because he's the cousin of the brother of the father of the bride when she got married, and the family eat around that table for their whole lives. And every time somebody sits at the table, there's something which is intangible, which you just know is there, because every single thing that that table comprises of is love, right? And then what happened was, somebody's like, "Hey man, you can get like a table for $50 in China. I know a guy who could do that." So he's like, "Really? You can get it for $50? Shoot, we should get that table." So instead of that one table, which is like full of love and beautifully handmade and all of the idiosyncrasies of making it so gorgeous, we ended up over the next 10 years having 40 shitty tables from different places, which were made in cheap, quickly manufactured facilities, and we welcomed them into our homes. And I feel that the younger generation today are not accepting that anymore. They're not accepting foods that have got shit put into them just because it made them cheap before, furniture that gets thrown together and gets put out with no thought, no love, no care, no anything, and doesn't last any period of time. And they are going back to saying we insist on quality because we can, and it's possible. And not only is it possible, but with the right quality in place, it's massively scalable. So I just think that you're not just fighting for tequila here. I think you're fighting for a generation. I really do. I think we're in such a bad place right now with what we're allowing in, with the things around our homes, our offices, our lives, our everything, that there's a desperate desire to get back to a place of real, meaningful love that's put into our craft, which then comes out the other side and it feels exactly the same way. In summary, there's no question this thing is going to sell like crazy. Like, everybody wants this. It is the real deal at a time when everything else is garbage. So it's ready. I love that you're doing this. The first time you spoke to me, I loved what you were doing. We were on the phone for like 2 hours, and I couldn't stop thinking about how important this was as a craft to bring back in, and how it's only right that somebody who is a sommelier, somebody who is a master of tequila, and somebody who has partnered with one of the finest families in Mexico can actually really has the right to be able to go in and bring this out to the world again. And for all of you folks who are listening and you're thinking, "Oh yeah, I saw George Cooney and what he did with Casos Amigos, and I've seen some of the other spirits companies with like Aviator and a few of the people that are associated with SIF." I mean, I can see Mark here. Mark's like, he's spinning around his chair going, "It's terrible. It's just awful. It's awful." So there is such potential. That's what I'm saying, is for quality to come out, to be associated with the right people, to get distributed. And I'll tell you the other funny thing, and then I want to throw it back to you for like what the next steps look like for how we take this out to market. Literally, we deal with growth in Expert Dojo. That's all we deal with, right? We're an accelerator. We invest money. Sure. But we deal with growth. Every minute of every day, I think of growth. And I never think of growth from Mark's brand. I just don't. I look at the brand, it's a thing of beauty. Look on their website. Look at the bottles. These are like perfume bottles. It's one of the most beautiful, ornate decorations you'll ever have in your house. You won't even want to drink it. These things look so gorgeous, right? The distribution, for goodness sake, he's been in distribution for the last 60 years. Okay, 30. Well, 30 years. Yeah, he's been 30. In all right. For the last 30 years. He's been right? It's forever. They are the relationships that never go away. And you said it in the first 5 minutes of us chatting. And like, those bridges are there to stay forever, which means when you bring this out to market, which is going to be the beginning of next year, remember the distillery is there, done, built, making tequila. We are only talking about the distribution. The distribution is what we're going to do the raise for right now. And once that distribution happens, God help the world, because it's coming out, and it's coming out as a tour de force. Can you maybe speak a little bit to that, Mark? Like, I've felt it since the beginning, to the extent I don't even feel like I'm delinquent not talking to you about growth all the time. I'm so comfortable with it. Is that just because I'm delusional, or because it's so obvious?
Obvious to us and obvious to everyone else. I mean, we have shown this bottle and have tasted this product to the executives of our distributor partners. And they said, Mark, whoa, this is going to change things. You know that, right? And no, they represent big brands, right? And I'm going, it's okay. There's room for everyone. And we're different. We're completely different.
Because you taste nice?
Well, I think our competition.
Okay, that was a cheap shot. That was a cheap shot. Fair enough.
I think our competition is gonna have a little tough time following us, but they can't, because they're stuck in their mass production ways, and it's okay. It's okay. You know, that's pedestrian tasting tequila. There's nothing special. There's nothing wrong, but there's nothing great about it. You know what? Tequila deserves better, and we deserve better tequila. And that's what drives us. And that is what is going to drive our brand in the market. And we got to look different. We got to act different. And at the end of the day, we got to taste different. Because why? Because that's what's going to get the repeat purchase.
Yeah. And there's no doubt in my mind. And you know, the only thing that's strange to me is I had not heard this talk much about tequila, and I don't understand why. Because if we look at other spirits, we look at whiskey, for example, you know, it's a religion. We're like, God, whiskey, yeah, well, it depends. What's the age of the whiskey? Like, and the people who really understand whiskey will guard what they have as one of the most reverent things in the world. Like, it would provoke wars if somebody tries to destroy the whiskey. And I just don't know how folks have got away with it for so long, and why it took you and this wonderful family to come back and say no more. Why do you think this is? And especially, sorry, just to add on to this, especially such a deeply cultural country such as Mexico.
We just got to find it again, right? I mean, it got away. The most famous saying about the Mexican culture is mañana, right? Everything's tomorrow and not further. So in order to plan a project like this, I mean, we've had to find people that felt the same way, that had the same passion, that were willing to go forward and make plans moving forward, meaning it takes 8 years to grow the agave. We got to do it right. And it takes 8 years to be in barrel in order for us to call extra añejo. So the Mexican
time is your friend, is what you're saying. In this particular case,
exactly.
Time is your friend for what's required, which is going to be something timeless in the future. It's your friend.
It is. And everything that we do is reverent back to the old way that tequila was for kings and queens, right? And then eventually for everyone else. It was a celebratory drink. We had it at parties and festivals and coronations and everything. We want to have that again. We want to have that quality again, that we can all be proud to drink and to enjoy. Go ahead.
I love that. Tell me a little bit about the team that you're going to build as you get this out to market. So you have your team in Mexico. You got the distillery. It's humming. It's ready. It's like bursting at the doors to get those barrels out and get them out to market. Now you're going to build a distribution team. A lot of it is going to be through distributors. How do you feel about direct to market as well? How do you feel about creating experiential campaigns? Like, talk a little bit about how it will look like, and then how you're going to bring on the people and what types of people you're going to bring on to make sure you do it the way you want to.
So as you and I have talked just recently, right? You got to have the best of the best in Mexico first. That has to happen first. And we've done that with years and years and years of experience. I mean, our whole team has got over 100 years in this business. And we're not talking about very many people. Our sales guys, our guys are going to be managing the distributors, have been involved in the 3-tier system and dealing with these distributors at the executive level for 30, 35, 40 years, both on the East Coast and the West Coast, the whole country. And they know how to manage that distribution. Now it'll be up to you and I to take it from there, meaning, how do we market this? Well, we talked about this last week, right? The influencers that we're approaching and vetting, industry influencers that take care of the number one priority and that's liquid to lips. So sampling events, everything, everywhere they go, they're taking that bottle and they're opening that bottle and they're tasting all their friends, their family, anyone. And that's how we get this thing going. It's kind of a street gorilla gig, right?
Yeah. And the first words out of their mouth when they taste?
Shit. No way.
I was going to say, wow.
Were you going to say something else?
I was going to say, wow, but shit is good too. Because
we've tasted people and some of the feedback that we've gotten back with some people that are very, very knowledgeable is, whoa, I have never tasted this, let alone tequila. I've never tasted like anything like this ever in my whole life. And then we keep going through the Blanco and Reposado and and extra, and it just goes off the chart and they're just blown away, which I'm proud of, but I want every tequila producer to follow. I really do. We're all in this together and tequila deserves better, right?
Yes, it does. And also there's a huge PR campaign, which I know you've been directly involved with a number of PR companies. The way the bottle is structured and the way it's put together, it speaks volumes as to its position in the market. Like you can see this on the shelf being the only thing anyone sees. I don't care what's around this bottle. It's the only thing anyone's going to see. And it's going to be not on the middle shelf. It's going to be right up there on the top. That one that you got to reach to because this is the one that you've always wanted. So it's going to be great. So I love that. And so I want to, just in the last couple of minutes here, because I think, I want to clarify what the next steps are, and I want to clarify how investors can get involved in this. And then I want to talk a little bit about how we diligence this deal and how we looked at it so you can kind of see where we are. So first of all, $21 million has been spent on this, right? The distillery's in place, the tequila is there. That means they have total control of the supply chain. You don't know how unusual this is. The vast majority of tequila companies are merely distribution companies that have no control of the supply chain whatsoever. They literally have no idea what's going in there. They may have instructions on the bottle, but trust me, they have absolutely no idea what's going in there. This company have total control of the supply chain and have a vested interest in making sure it's successful because the owners are in both. Number two, you have a product which has been tested in the market and has received rave reviews and will continue to do so. So as an investor, when you see that, you're in a really strong position. However, now is when the rubber meets the road because now we got to take it from distilling it to distributing it. Now, for the distribution, the company is going to require about $2.5 million. More, actually, probably 5 to kick it off, which is nothing because it would require a ton more if the product wasn't already made. Now, maybe a little bit less than that could be brought in, but at the end of the day, we are in September right now. For those of you who may hear this podcast a little bit later on, September 2022. Mark my words, this product will be live in the markets in January 2023. That is the launch date. That is when this thing hits the shelves. That means that we are not going to be messing around, waiting for this to come through in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. This happens in September and October. That is it. Then this is closed down. Then nobody will ever get an opportunity to invest in this again. And I say that because I don't think I'm speaking out of school here, Mark, when I say I don't think you're going to need another raise after we do this one.
Yeah, I don't think we are either. It'll pay for itself, and I mean we say that, but going global might take a little stretch. But this is their one chance. No offense, and we say this because we want them as part of. We want who's listening a part of the team, and it's a great lifestyle, right? And it's high profile. And you can bank on that. we can go other directions with that. But yes, now is the chance, and here is your chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you, so when I look ever to diligence a deal, I look at 5 things that are important. And remember, we're only in the business of looking for unicorns, which are billion-dollar companies. We're not in the business of putting investments into companies that we think are nice or people are nice, no matter how good that is. It always has to look at the end run of saying this business is going to be a monster business that can hit $1 billion plus dollar valuation. So the very first thing that I will look at is the straight line revenue to $100,000 a month. Straight line, not jagged line. That means I need to be able to look cost of customer acquisition, and I need to be able to look at that cost of product and marketing and add it up together and make sure that the product itself has got the right win there that takes us to $100,000 a month in revenue. That took me about 10 seconds not to worry about that, because the distribution does that 10 times over. You throw it into a few of these places and you have that immediately, right? Then I look and say, okay, how do we go from $100,000 a month to $3 million a month? Now, that's when you start layering in on top of just the distribution. You start bringing in the influencers, you start bringing in the direct to consumer, you start bringing in the dinners, like the tequila dinners, whereby people will start to have experiential events, whereby they will be special events because they're being served a very, very, very special spirit. And that's all about public relation and brand and building that message around the product so that it's there. But if you look at the other brands out there, that is not a huge number to hit for any brand. And if you also look with the acquisitions numbers of not just the tequila brands and the gin brands and the other ones out there, even goodness, look, take one of my homeboys, Conor McGregor. No offense, Conor, but it's truly the worst whiskey that's ever been made on the face of this earth. Like, the fact that you got past the trademark act to call it a whiskey is a pure miracle in itself. And you got hundreds of millions of dollars in an acquisition for it. Can you imagine bringing out the finest tequila that Mexico has ever produced, what that's going to be worth in the future? So for me, getting to that level is okay. Then I look at the ownership of the team and I say, okay, 2 roles for the person who's the CEO stroke founder of the company. The first role is, how is this person in front of investors? Tick in the box. Nothing else needs to be said. The second thing is, how is this person from an execution perspective? Everything for the last 30 years has screamed execution. And then the final part is the team and the logistics, right? So what challenges do we have with the supply chain and the process? First half of the team is built, in place, there, done, ready to produce the tequila, already been set up. Second part of the team immediately would be the distributors who are going to take the heavy lift to get it out to market. And then we will layer in on top of that the PR people, the digital marketing people, the other folks who are then going to push it out to the influencers and everything else. So for me, it's a 5-star, right? And I don't say that about a lot of products. It's a 5-star. I like it very much. Mark, I'm going to leave you with the last words here. Please share your email. Everybody knows they can always catch me at brian@expertdojo.com. But just give out your email address so people can catch you by email for any interest. And then also just finish us off with something which is your real vision of the future from a investor perspective. So I think we've spoken a lot. And I spoke from an investor perspective a moment ago, but we've spoken a lot about the importance from an emotional perspective of what's being brought to the market and just what that quality is going to mean. But talk about, from an investor, without maybe talking about returns, but how important this is going to be for them.
As we said, I tell you what, Agava is a great investment. Check the boxes, right? We've identified the challenges. We've secured the solutions. Tequila is the fastest growing spirits market in the luxury category. We're different from our competition. Our all-star team's got 100 years. The back end is complete. Proprietary methods are tried and true. Our marketing strategies are sound, ready to go. Our distribution partners are ready to go. We've been working more than 10 years to get to this day. And today is the day. We're profitable, scalable. We got 21 million, like you said, Brian, in our game. And the exit strategies are extremely lucrative. Again, this is your chance. This is your one chance to be an important part of the team.
And I know I said I give you the last word. But you just reminded me of Morgan Freeman there.
Sorry about
Morgan
that,
Freeman he's an overnight success at the age of 50, right? So it's like you guys are coming in to be his agent only at the age of 50 onwards, right? Which was every great movie that Morgan Freeman ever made,
exactly.
Right? All of the years before that were preparing for the greatest test of his life. Okay, email address for folks to contact you.
It's mark@agavaspirits.com. Super simple.
Okay, wonderful. Mark, it's a pleasure being on the ride with you. I love it, man. I'm so pleased. We got such great things to do in the future. Everybody out there, come on. It's not a difficult one, okay? Thank you.